In my first video, I spoke a little bit about how we can encourage students to use language lists of sentences or phrases or collocations or chunks, or sometimes just single words that we know they're going to meet in the next class. And I mentioned the way that if you're using something like the outcome series, we have a vocabulary builder that helps you with this on the ELT outcome site. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can encourage students to use lists of language that you send out after class, where as a teacher you gather together a group of whole sentences or chunks or phrases that came up in class. Maybe you add a few extra examples, maybe you add a couple of extra collocations, and you send it out to students, maybe just as a word file or in an email, or as a voice recording for students to use. What you can then encourage them to do to integrate into the next class is to write short tests, maybe tests of between 8 and 10 items, using the language that came up in the last class to test their peers with. So if, for example, one of the sentences was, the election has dominated this election, the economy has dominated this election campaign, they could just write that sentence with the word campaign missing, okay? And they give that to their partner at the beginning of the next class. If you want to make it more difficult, tell them to gap a different word. So maybe they gap, the economy has dominated the campaign this year. They could also write definitions, okay? So they could write something like, the time before when we vote for a new president is called the election campaign. Or they could do verb and noun endings, okay? So they could say dominate the election campaign, and they could match these up, or they could get their partners to match them up. So it's student generated tests.